The words that will comfort me, I am. The words that inspire me, I am.
Hello, and welcome to That Oneness Guy podcast, a podcast covering the many aspects and elements that embody oneness, our inherent eternal truth and birthright, reminding us that we are connected to one and all as individualized expressions of one source. I am your host, Danny Rongo, and yes, I am that oneness guy. As an author, speaker, and singer-songwriter, I continue to share my unique message of oneness. So, let's get right into podcasting.
To words that encourage me, I am.
Hello, my friends in oneness, and thank you for tuning in. I got to tell you, I'm really excited about this episode for one very specific reason, and that is because I once again have the opportunity to speak with a fellow colleague within the music industry. As you know, aside from my work as a spiritual author and a podcaster, I am also a singer-songwriter. And I love when I have the opportunity to share the insight and music from someone who shares with my belief that music heals the soul. And today's guest fits that description perfectly in many, many ways. So let me tell you a little about Nicholette Williams. Nicholette is the CEO of Otune Radio, an online radio station with a global presence based in Canada, Africa, and the UK, and it is run by women. Their mission is to inspire and unify all with one world, one life, and one music. She's also a Reiki Master, a nutritionist, and photographer. So, my friends in oneness, please join me and say hello to my new friend, Nicholette Williams. Hello, Nicholette.
Oui, bonjour. Hi, Danny. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you so much for that eloquent introduction.
Thank you for being here on the show, Nicholette. I've been following your work, and I have to tell you right up front that I was attracted, as that oneness guy would be, I was attracted to your mission statement of one world, one life, and one music. Anything that can help to unify our world, I am a fan of, Nicholette. So I've been listening to your station. I love all that you do. But I'd like to get right to it and find out how you came to that mantra or that mission statement. So if you'd like to, please share with my listeners anything you'd like to say about your background and anything that led to such a poignant and meaningful mission statement and Otune Radio. So take it away.
Thank you so much, Danny. Otune Radio actually was born out of COVID. We were actually on our way to film at the O2 in London, and we got stopped. So we were not able to fly because that day was the day that our premier had said, if you go, you can't come back.
Wow.
And staying at home, being creative, a director, film producer, we decided, listen, I don't know how to communicate with my family. We are on lockdown. What are we going to do? A friend of mine in the UK started a little radio, and he had a couple of, like 100 people or so on his radio. And we started from there. He had a vision of only playing a specific genre of music and a lot of news. And I thought, okay, so not quite happy with that version. We reinvented ourselves and created Otune Radio, which meant that we are one. We can't just have only R&B music, not just reggae music. We wanted to be incorporating everything. Not only strictly oldies music, not only modern music, or, we didn't want to be put into a category of.
Good for you.
Exactly. So that's where the one came from. One world, one music, one world, one life, one music. So we only have this one life. As Nicholette Williams, as Danny, yourself, in this physical body of who you are, you only have this one chance in this body. So that's where that came in, because I'm a Reiki master, I'm spiritual. I do a lot of different type of healing. So I believe in the oneness of that.
I
We have
had to think from the get-go of it, Nicolette, like I said, having such a mantra, or just one world, one life, one music. I was saying to myself when I first saw it, I said, here's a person who I would be very shocked if is not spiritual based. You know what I mean? And so just from that, I was like, she has to be. And sure enough, just to your point, you are. And I appreciate that because obviously, you know, like you can attest to the rest of your industry. I don't know if other CEOs of like radio stations share such a passion for your spirituality, but it's nice to hear that you do, and especially to put it in your mission statement like you do. So
Thank you.
that's awesome.
I do believe quite a few people are doing that right now.
Really good.
There's a lot of spiritual people, but with regards to the one world, one life, one music, that's how that whole statement came up. Our logo, as our mission statement, really and truly believed in it. And actually getting the name Otune was like a little planet somewhere in the solar system, and that's called Otune. So we decided, okay, all the O's together, you know, it'll be pretty interesting. So
I never looked at it from that way. It was obviously one world, one life, one music. Well, the O's, yeah, I'd put them all together.
you
Otune.
put them all together and it's infinity because it's 8. You can turn them into.
That's true.
So
That's
anyway,
true. That is.
we just had this inspirational thing, and boom, at right now we had 5.7 million listeners worldwide,
Wow.
including Ukraine, Russia, Germany, internationally, Philippines, India, other parts of the world that are logging on to listen to specific shows. So we also decided that we will have no news broadcast on our radio. Because if you want to listen to the news, go to another radio and listen to the news. We want to be able to create a space where we can have conversations and encourage everybody else to grow spiritually.
Yeah. So let me ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. Were all of your other staff members on board with the no news concept? Or is that something that you had to like educate them or say, hey, listen, here's why we don't want to do it? Everyone was on board with it?
Well, it changed because, like I said, we were a different radio station before with a couple of guys that had ideas about we're going to have sports, we're going to have news channel because you have to. And we changed that. And having the conversations with my new partners that have joined me as women in the radio station, decided, okay, what would you like to listen to? And it was conversations between my partners in the company and staff members that had joined us. We have men that work with us too, but the whole concept was created by females because we had an idea of, okay, we're not going to be overly religious. We're spiritual. Let's give people an opportunity to be heard, an opportunity to listen to music without an interruption. We've got DJs from all over the world. So we have 48 hours of radio.
Wow.
So it's not 24 hours because of the different time zones.
Yeah.
So we have that.
I never thought about it from that perspective too. Yeah. So you're all around the world. So you're the 48 hours on the air. Wow.
Absolutely.
That's impressive. And actually getting back to the news, Nicolette, I don't have to tell you, like my wife and I, we stopped watching the news years ago, only for the fact that there was nothing ever good on it. And, you know, like as a spiritual person that I am, and I'm so in tune to energy, I don't want any of that negativity on me. So for me personally, it's important, you know, I'm not trying to tune myself out of society. It's just that I'm choosing not to subject myself to another terrorist attack or like another stabbing in New York City, or just everything is bad, especially where I am here in the tri-state area. There's rarely anything good. And so I just opted to say, hey, listen, I don't want that in me. And again, it's not that I'm turning my back on society. And in fact, it's quite the opposite, because as a spiritual person, I know that what I put out will only radiate into the world. So if I'm watching bad news and horror stories, I know that's resonating in me and through me and going back out. So I don't want to be part of that collective. I want to be part of a positive collection similar to what you're saying. Let's focus on beautiful music. We're spiritual based. Let's just put it out there, and we don't need the news. So again, that's, props to you for that. That's really cool.
If I may, I'm not criticizing newsmakers or radio stations that have news.
Sure.
I just opted to not have news on our radio
Yeah.
station for that reason, because everybody has it. But it is a source of information as to what is going on in the world. For
Yeah.
example, who passed away or who was born and what music. So specific things. There are other things in the world that we can talk about. We can talk about music news. We can talk about the inspiration of Beethoven, how it had all those kind of things. So that's the kind of news that I would like to inspire everybody. As a teacher yourself, we are now setting up a teaching platform on Otune Radio and TV. So we, on our TV aspect as well, that is going to be something that we are going to be promoting in the next few months.
Wow.
So you'll be able to find us on all smart devices and watch and learn. And yes, it's going to be beautiful. So I do encourage other people to continue to do whatever they need to do. We have different types of shows as well. We have the nutritional shows like Detox Monday. Everybody comes back and says, oh my goodness, I had a crazy weekend. I just feel bloated. Well, come and listen to a Detox Monday.
What a great idea. What a great idea.
Don't we all complain? We all complain.
Hey, let me tell you something. Speaking about like a Detox Monday, excuse me. I could have used that on one day last week. I had my brother and his wife in town, and he was visiting for a week, and he was staying with us, and I unfortunately overindulged, as they say, and I paid the price. So like I could have used the Detox Monday, because I can't afford to put myself in that situation, especially with what I tell you about my health situation. I can't afford this, so I made a stupid mistake. But I'm sure something like your insight here on that specific show would have been very useful to me.
Well, we've also got nutritionists on Tuesday, which is the wellness show with Natalie. So the wellness show, you can actually write into Otune Radio and say, you know what, I got this sort of situation. Can you talk about this?
Okay.
Or go on to the podcast and go back into her previous shows of what we've uploaded already, and you can see that is. And if you want to engage into her services, you contact us directly, and you have a one-on-one.
Yeah.
We have different shows throughout the whole week,
So do you offer any of your like Reiki insight on a show?
No,
You
I
don't?
don't. No.
Okay.
I actually have opted out for doing that, except
Can I ask you why?
because basically it's a lot of work, and I've opted to do that mostly with people that ask me directly.
Okay.
That are around me, and animals. So I started doing for one of my great friends. He had some cows that were sick. So I'd go into the field, and these cows would just surround me. They would never hurt me. They would just surround me. And those that needed something would come and nudge me, and
Really?
on the energies. So when you request it, if you had to request and say, Nicholette, and I had the time, I can do long distance healing.
Sure.
But I don't actually have the time.
Yeah.
Because of running a few companies at the moment. And I'm also a DJ, and I just learned how to operate, some techno and house music and a turntable. So I'm pretty busy, and I have a little granddaughter, so got a lot going on. But I can recommend services.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Like I said, like just to be able to have that like in your back pocket, I think is an outstanding attribute to have for anyone. My sister is a Reiki master herself as well too. So
Yeah.
I always tap her first, say, listen, can you help me out? And she always does. Either I'll go to her house, or like you said, she can do it from the distance. She lives about half hour away. I have friends of mine who are Reiki masters, and I so appreciate the whole concept of it. Nicholette, obviously, I love the whole energy thought process behind it. I understand that like we are beings of energy. I know
Yes.
a lot of people don't. But like when you get to know, like a little more about your spirituality, that kind of like evolves into your being, that we are beings of energy. Obviously, you know that. I have a funny way how I like to explain it when I'm speaking. about it for the first time, and they go, well, Dan, prove it. Like how can you say that we're energy? I'm like, here's an example.
I know.
Yeah, I'll say, how many times have you been sitting at home and out of nowhere, you've been thinking about a friend of yours who lives on the other side of the country? Just a passing thought. And within 15 to 20 seconds, your phone rings and you look at it and you pick it up, you go, oh my God, I was just thinking about you. And I go, yeah, that's how it happens. You were thinking about that person. You were emitting your energy about that person and went out into the universe and look what happened, Nicholette. They received that energy. It was a frequency. That's all it was. They received it. But to me, that's a simple, but it's the most direct way, because most people can kind of relate to that, right?
Absolutely.
Right? Everyone has said at one time, oh my God, I was just thinking about you. Yeah, that's it. You were thinking. We're energy.
Absolutely. Law of attraction.
Right? And it is the law of attraction.
We never alone either. We've got our spiritual guides going by. I mean, like, I saw something the other day and I thought, let me try it. So go into a forest and stand near a tree and talk to the tree. Ask the tree to touch your shoulder. Don't move. There's no wind. The tree will come down and touch.
Oh,
actually, would you like to try that?
I love that. I would love to try
It
that.
is, and you
I got to
thank
try
the
that
tree
time.
because
Yeah.
we are human beings. A tree grounds us, right? You go
Yes.
to take off your shoes and hug a tree. We
Yep.
have Hug a Tree Day on Otune Radio. Encourage people to do natural things. Let's go back to center. Let's go back to how things really were. Who were we? I mean, how come we using cell phones? We used to be able to do telepathy. Start going back into the
Right.
thing.
Think about that, and I've always said that, Nicholette.
Lots of
Yeah.
conversations.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm I'm a firm believer in the advancement of all these technologies. But I'll be honest with you, there's also the side of me that sees that it's kind of detrimental as well too, because like there was that big phrase speaking about COVID and the pandemic. Like back when it started, there was social distancing. And the first thing that like came to my mind, I was like, no, we've had social distancing since these things came into view. Cell phones. To me, that's social distancing, because that's what it's been doing. It's been creating separation and walls between human interaction. I don't have to tell you, you just walk down any street, you see people with their head down and they're walking straight at you. They still got their head down. I go, yo, head up, guy, head up, head up. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, walk if you're going to walk, stop and talk if you're going to stop and talk. But you do two things at the same time. I just, it just irks me for the fact that it's taking us, I'm trying to bring us towards oneness, obviously.
Right.
Something like these cell phones, something like technology is going in the opposite direction. And I understand why. And like I said, I applaud advancement, but I think this is hurting us, especially when you look at the children of today. Some of the younger generations, they have no social skills, none. Nothing irks me more than like when I see a family of 5 or 6 at a restaurant and the kids are just looking at their phones, and so are the parents too. So they're not teaching the kids anything. But
No.
like, what are you trying to show your kids? Like, no, we're out having dinner. Can you talk with mom and dad for a second? Leave the phones at home or put it in your pocket. That gets me.
Dinner. Husband and wife go for dinner and they have their phones on the table. Now that is showing that I don't have time for you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's it. Maybe we could create a day that there's no cell phone day for a day, or
Yep.
spend a couple of hours going into nature and doing different things.
Yeah.
And that might be a way
Yeah.
of
Oh, it's
making
simple
more.
stuff. I actually started a campaign back a few years ago, and it was called just a 30-minute thing, something like that. I said 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes before you go to bed. If you can resist from looking at your phone within the first 30 minutes after you awaken into consciousness, and then 30 minutes before you go back into subconsciousness, you're going to be doing yourself a great service. Let your body breathe when you first wake up. You know what I mean? Get in touch with yourself, stretch, have your water, have your tea, have your coffee, whatever you want to do, just a half hour. Now, to me, Nicolette, that seems like nothing. You know what I mean? But to somebody, the first thing you're like this. And then at night before you go to bed, why do you want to bombard your brain, which has been entertaining 70 to 90,000 thoughts in your 24-hour span, and now you're going to try and shut it down by looking at your cell phone? It don't work like that.
Kind of guilty of that sometimes myself as
Trust me, my friend.
like, we got to check on
Nicolette,
the
I am too. I am too. You know what I mean? But I try. At least I try to catch myself, because there's like times when I'm, obviously waiting for like an important call, and I might pick up my phone right away because I expected either a call or a text overnight or something along those lines. We all do. But for the majority of it, I give myself that space. I always meditate first thing in the morning, and I try to meditate last thing before I close my eyes too. It's choices, right? It's choices, my friend. You're a spiritual person. You understand that we're here to, that we get to choose.
We have to have days off. We got to get days off too.
Yeah.
We got to get days off and do just different things. Go out in nature. Just when we say go out in nature, it's like literally just stop. And I think with having the pandemic, it forced us into situations where we realized that we were just living with clutter. I noticed that I'd like 300 pairs of shoes.
All right.
Why?
There's you like my wife now?
No, I don't anymore. I've got 9 pairs. I got rid of them.
God bless you.
But during COVID, we were forced. We
were forced to rethink.
We were forced to rethink things and take a moment. So some of us decided that we would be creative and find other things. I think a lot of people did.
Oh, sure. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, because it happened to me, it's I always say that there are no accidents in a perfect universe. So this was totally on script, obviously. I think it's the result of our collective consciousness, because that's the whole rigmarole, if you want to call it that, for me, is that we emanate and we can change our own lives by our thought, but we always add to the collective as well too. So it was the result of a collective consciousness, but I tend to look at it.
History repeating itself.
Yes. Well said. And I called it actually a clarity for humanity back when it first started, for that reason, that I was like, all right, how else can we look at this except it's a moment in time for us to take a step back, like we said, evaluate the situation, reassess, if you may,
right,
declutter, like you said, stuff like that. And like when you talk about that word, first of all, it's like it's a huge word in my household, because my wife is an interior decorator and a home stager. So I hear the word declutter every day, especially to her clients. So it's huge in the Rongo household, trust me. But it was an opportunity and a gift, if you may, for us to look at our lives in such a perspective, right? Take a step back, to breathe. Like, most like people either were forced to work from home or were forced to stay home. So you had to get in touch with your immediate surroundings. Like you said, it was the perfect opportunity to go outside and ground yourself every day. Hold on to a tree, put your bare feet in the grass or in the sand. In
the snow in Canada, okay?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm here on the Jersey Shore, so for us, it's always the sand, which I love, by the way. I'm very attached to the ocean for many reasons. But but again, many people didn't look at it as an opportunity. They just looked at it for the trouble that it presented, which I'm not taking away. It was a change. But you always have that choice, I could look at the glass half full, half empty. All those sayings.
Well, we have the choice, right, Danny? You've got a choice. Is it a wise choice or is it a sad choice?
Yeah.
So make a wise choice instead of a sad choice. You have an opportunity to sit and mope, or you can sit and watch movies, or finish off Netflix, or find something creative to do.
Yeah.
So you found that there's a lot of people that used to work and then go home and then go out and not spend time with their families, and they were forced to reckon with all that. We were forced to I was forced to look at my house and say, oh, shoot, this house is messy. Oh my goodness, is that my garage? Oh la la, how do
Ooh
I
la
get
la.
here?
Nice.
And so, was decided to make a wise choice instead of a sad choice and mope around and find something constructive. So we built Otune Radio, and it started evolving. Ideas started coming. I
Yeah.
called my family. I've got a fantastic family that is worldwide. I'm
Yes.
originally from Africa, Zambia, of mixed descent. My parents are mixed.
Wow.
So a huge mixture of different nationalities in my family, and we are all over the world. So my grandparents had many, many children, and my mom's side of the family had many, many children. So you can imagine I had over 300 first cousins on one
Wow.
side. And then they got married and divorced and had many other children and traveled all over the world.
Oh
From
my God.
the Navy to in the UK, all the way, armies and stuff. So I've got family, and I've phoned my cousins and family, and there are loads of musicians, asked for some ideas and to come on to the radio station, and friends that I grew up from back home in boarding schools, and said, hey guys, you got technical knowledge. You guys got this. How are we going to build this? Can we do this? Because we couldn't visit each other. We only had Zoom. And the only way we could communicate was like, hey, did you hear this music? Did you hear the sound? Oh, did you hear this? Can you play that on the radio? And that's how the radio developed, because I missed my family. I missed communication. And just
That's a great story.
I couldn't just call all these hundreds of families.
Yeah.
You have your group chats.
But you could unite everyone through your work.
That's right. So when I was live, Nikki's Vibes Live, hey, cousin Dino, my cousin Dino lives in Holland. He's a saxophone player, had been for years. And then the other one is in New York City, Washington, D.C. My other cousins, my family. There will be one show for 2 hours, and we would be able to communicate, and you send a message.
How
And
cool is that?
how that happened, unify the family.
And it sounds like you have a love for your cousins, because I know I'm from a large Italian family, and my cousins, like my wife Andrea was always baffled for the fact that my cousins are like my brothers and sisters, and we're that close, and we have been now for 50, 60 years. We are so tight and so close. So I can only imagine when you have them around the world like that, to what you say, and that's got to be great way to stay in touch.
I've got my brothers. One is in Zimbabwe. My youngest sister is in Zambia. My older brother is in New Zealand. The other brother is in, where is he now? Oh, sorry. Yeah, he's in Zimbabwe too. So those are my immediate brothers and sisters. And the rest of the people and families are in Australia, in France, in Turkey, in Portugal, all over the world. We have family. Holland, I could just name it. So it's easier to have had a radio station just to keep the demand of my family.
Yeah, yeah. And it's perfect timing, because this actually segues into the next thing that I wanted to ask you, which is making perfect sense now, because you've answered most of it. But I wanted to ask you, why was your mission statement of one world, one life, one music so important to you?
It's been important to me, so we could incorporate everything. And I spoke about that earlier, like bringing your music. You're a songwriter, you're a musician. You're not just in one genre. We wanted to, so it'll just be like, so if I was just a jazz radio station, you wouldn't be able to play on it. If I was just R&B or hip hop, for you can come. Anybody can come onto our radio. Anybody. We don't have any segregation except for no profanity. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you too, how do you select your music for your programs? Is it a process, or?
Well, when you want to come onto our radio station, there's a submission and then you get vetted. There's a submission form on the website, and you can easily do that. Easy to get in touch with us. So simple. I'll give you all the details. Very easy. So all the DJs have different music styles. Everybody has. Tonight, if you log in tonight, you've got DJ B Styles, who plays soft rock.
Nice.
Everybody likes soft rock. Who doesn't? But my forte is I like R&B. I like old school, new school.
Nice.
And then Saturdays, I will do techno and house like crazy, drumming, Italian, and mixing musics together.
So who are your favorite R&B artists? You're like, old school, like Marvin Gaye, Motown?
I'm not going to even say one because I have too many. It's going to
Yeah.
take a day.
I
Lots.
know.
So
Yeah,
if
well,
you tune in tomorrow, you'll hear me. I'm live on Nikki's Vibes Casual Fridays. So, you know, you're going to do different kinds of music if you wanted to come on a specific day. And every single day we have a different type of music, but we do play a lot of mixtures. So we call it a mixed bag.
that's great. That's great. You know, I mean, because obviously, like, if you're going to spend the time and tune into something, I always change my channels a lot, like when I'm driving, for that
Yeah.
exact reason. Because, say, like, if I'm listening to, you know, like, I listen to iHeartRadio a lot, and I'll stop on the iHeart Country. I'm a big fan of country music over the last 5 to 10 years for specific reasons, but I just started gravitating towards it more. And I love the country out there nowadays. But after about 4 or 5 songs, I'm like, all right, now I want some R&B, so I change it. So I'll go to an R&B mix station or something along those lines.
Right.
And there's times like I'm a child of the 70s, so I grew up listening like the Led Zeppelin,
I
you
know.
know,
I
and the
love it too.
Beatles.
I
You know,
love
who
it.
doesn't? You know, you have to love the Beatles.
Absolutely.
So you know, I like that blend, which is why, like, back in the day, you know, like making, like, whenever made mixed CDs or like mixed cassette tapes of their own, I would spend hours doing it. And I would, you know, I'd go from a rock to an R&B to a jazz to a, you know, to a punk, you know, rock. So, and like anytime I would play like my party mixes, they would say, Dan, you're like all over the place, which is, I'm like, yeah, because that's what I like. I don't like just to hear one form. I like to mix it up.
Yeah. You know, one thing I remember about that, because as I was decluttering also, it was a lot of cassettes. Did you remember the most important thing about a cassette was a pencil, a scissors?
Yes, a pencil. So you can go like this and like wind it back.
Yeah, my kids were like, what?
So
What?
did you have like 8-track tapes too, like when in your
Oh,
days?
I did. I
Yeah,
did. I still do. I still
yeah.
do. You know, I got
Now
some good
that
ones.
was even worse than the cassette because the 8-track, if you remember, only had those 4 channels.
I
So
know.
like each channel had like, I don't know, about 5 songs for an album's worth or something like that. So like you really had to wait for those 4 or 5 songs to go through before it would advance to the next channel. Um, so you can see
Struggle
the
was
advancements again, getting back to accepting that we've advanced technologically in so many ways, which I'm a fan of. And nowadays, like even CDs nowadays are almost passe. Everything is streaming. Everything's online, right?
everything is online. Everything is online. But I think I did see there was in the UK when I visited recently, well, not recently, before the pandemic, they was starting to revive records, you know, and they had the record stores starting to open up again because it was a big thing. I mean, who wouldn't spend hours in the record store? They ceased to exist in Canada right now. I think they are maybe somewhere in, I don't know, not really, I don't know where they are, but it was a big thing. That's doing a comeback.
Yeah.
But technology is a good thing, but it's also like sometimes it's nice to have things from the past.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. Obviously, you have children, like, and grandchildren too, that you alluded to. I don't want to say that I feel sorry for the younger generations, but I've always said this, Nicolette, I wouldn't trade my youth for all the money in the
No,
world.
yes,
Never,
no, me neither. Me
never.
neither.
I
Me
loved
neither.
I loved the fact that I was outside playing with my friends on the block, winter, spring, summer, fall, in the snow, in the rain. We were young teenage boys playing stickball and basketball and football and having rock fights, and then which actually led to street fights. We were boys, you know what I mean? And like we were a neighborhood of kids, and like we grew up together. And I'm still in touch with all of my friends. You know, some of unfortunately have transitioned and passed on. But you know what I mean? Just but the kids nowadays, they don't have that connection, and it goes back to they'll just text you. I had to go out my front door and yell down the block to, you know, how about, yo, come on out. You know, the kids text and they don't do stuff outside no more. They don't play. I don't know.
My granddaughter plays.
Does
And
she? Good.
allowed to run with no shoes on.
Good
so
for
she
her.
can connect to the earth. That's what we did. I mean, how many bruises and scrapes did we have on
Scrapes and cuts, that's part of it.
You know, it was part of it, and we would hide from our parents. Yeah, they got a little cut and they screaming.
Oh,
Deal with it.
too much overprotection. You have to let
Oh,
children's grow. You know what I mean? I always say too, thanks to my guru, Dr. Wayne Dyer, you know, like when you talk about your children
yeah.
don't come from you, they pass through you. And when you look at it from that kind of approach, it helps you understand that your children are really just their own being on their own path, on their own journey. You could guide them, but they have to make their own mistakes. Without the mistakes, there's no growth. And for us to grow as individuals, as obviously you and I know, we've made plenty of mistakes, but without those mistakes, where'd we be?
Exactly. But for me, I have a son and a daughter, and I always felt like that my children were mine.
Yeah.
And seeing them grow up and make decisions, I was like, whoops, okay, you know, sad. So I've left them to be who they want to be as adults.
Right.
Now I've got my grandchild, so I'm fine. I'm crying. I'm good.
Good.
Just waiting for the rest now.
You gotta love being grandma, though, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it that I have the opportunity to play, to discover new things from her perspective, seeing the world from her eyes.
Ah.
She perceives a tree, a horse, how she reacts to different things.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel great to be able to teach her and enjoy those
That's
moments.
wonderful, because
And
we're supposed to learn from our elders. And there was societies back in the day that really focused in on that, and that is something that we got away from over over time. But if you think about it, who has more to offer a child? Someone who's maybe 50, 60, 70, or someone who just had the person who's in their 20s?
Right.
It's not even close when it comes to the wisdom and the knowledge that the grandparents can share.
Yes,
you know what I mean? It just makes sense. But again, nowadays the you know, like the younger generations, they were like, no, we got it from here. I'm like, all
no,
right,
you
best
don't
of
got
luck.
it. We grew up in communities where you would
Yes.
have advice.
Yes.
Hi, auntie. Hi, uncle. What is your opinion on this? I'm thinking of doing that. Okay, call Uncle Arthur, Uncle John, or
Yep.
whoever your auntie or uncle at that.
Well
had
said.
that,
Well
that
said.
had
And
that
obviously, how I was alluding to my large Italian family, all my Italian aunts and uncles and my grandparents, you know, were always right there. Some still are right there for me.
Yes.
God bless them. You know, I still have my dad. He just turned 88 the other day. Still great. But still, I gotta go to him for insight still, you know, because they offer a different perspective. He's from the greatest generation, which
Yes.
I'll always call it that. And because that like kind of generation is even better than, like, I would say mine, because, you know, they like went through like World War II and then, you know, and so on. And they just had so many struggles, but they got through it with that family mentality and that family love as their foundation. You talk about oneness, right? How I preach oneness. There's your oneness. That's a great form of family love, and that embodies oneness, if you ask me, in so many ways. So, listen, too, before I forget, and this is definitely something that I wanted to ask you, seeing that we're kind of getting towards it too, because I know how I feel about it, and I'm sure that you have your own thoughts about, you know, like how I mentioned in your introduction, how music, you know, can heal the soul, and it heals in so many ways.
Yes.
How do you, as a CEO of a radio station, how do you see today's music, Nicholette, making an impact on our world in general, like from an overview? Like, do you see it making a positive impact, or maybe not so much positive, maybe still towards negative? Because you sense, like you said, more of the genres that you hear. Is today's music helping us or potentially hurting us, as far as you can see?
That is a very seriously loaded question.
Thank you. I like to come up with a good one every now and then, Nicholette, and I just did.
Okay, so let me be careful in how I say things. I think that some of the music is very nice. I don't know about it helping, because in music, profanity should be eliminated. It's not something wise. It's not a wise choice to have profanity in music because you have young children going to be talking like that.
Understood.
So yeah, some of it is good, some of it is interesting. But I do believe that musicians from the way back when, Harry Belafonte days, the actors and musicians from Duke d'Alembert, music from that time where they actually played real instruments. That's music, because you can play a real instrument and not something that's electronic, something that you can play. That was music to me. The new music, anybody can be a musician. Actually, I did interview somebody who cannot sing and tune in key.
Really?
But because of modern technology and Audacity, you can change things.
Yeah, auto-tune.
So you're not really a musician, okay?
Yeah.
In that respect, but everybody is a musician. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying.
Understood.
So I'm being very careful in how I'm answering you.
No, I understand, because obviously, like you have people giving you their music, so you want to tread a little lightly on that. But in general, like for me personally, as a writer and a lyricist too, I've always gravitated towards words that touched my heart.
Thank you.
From anything like Stevie Wonder, when he said, from a blind man, by the way, who said, "You are the sunshine of my life. That's why I'll always be around." You can't put a price on something like that. The Beatles, Paul McCartney, when you find yourself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me speaking words of wisdom, let it be. You know what I mean? I just got goosebumps saying that, Nicholette. You know what I mean? And recently, like some of today's artists, I love someone like Jason Mraz, who's always been one of my favorite artists in today's world, because most of his words and his lyrics and his songs are all about coming together, unifying. So I like that. You know what I mean? And especially because my own music, which you will hopefully hear one day, is about that as well too. I tend to write about, unifying and about oneness. And, I have a song called I Am, because those two words to me represent so much as a mantra, as the name of God, because there's religions that refer to God as I am. And to me, you can't find a more poetic way to discuss oneness than when you say, I am. Think about what you say every time you say, I am. What are you saying? You're saying me, right? So that's why I tell my listeners through my books and podcasts and stuff like this, that it's very important what you follow those two words up with. For example, I am in a bad mood, or I am happy. I am abundant. I am prosperous. I am healthy. Because whatever you're following up I am with becomes a declaration, because I am is, some declare it as the name of God. So to me, stuff like that's important. So when you say I am this, so, when people come across all the time and say, I'm aggravated, I'm this, I'm worried, I'm upset, I'm like, stop letting that out like that. You're not doing yourself a service, especially from a spiritual perspective.
I am beautiful, I am talented, and I am happy today, just for today. So we can't think about tomorrow. We're just going to think for today.
We have the one eternal now.
That's right.
Which is a whole other concept to get our heads around. But, there's a lot of books about that. But to me, I understand that. I understand that everything is happening right now. We're the ones who invented time to put our lives in some kind of linear perspective, which, if you think about it, there is nothing. It's just, everything is just now, right?
Just right now. I know it is.
Yeah.
But why don't we make a change every single day? On our radio station, we always have something new that we want to talk about. And today, this week, it's about playing it forward. Go and do a little bit of kindness to somebody and just don't talk about it. Just go and pay for somebody's electricity bill if you got extra money.
Wow.
Or go and give somebody a hug today.
Wow.
Go and buy some food on e-transfer somebody. Do something nice, but don't go and say, you know what? I did this. That just takes away from it. And you feel good inside when you give. Yeah. Give somebody love just because. Yeah. Oh, I'm not going to talk to that person because they were rude. Just be nice.
Yeah. Speaking of that,
just because they were rude. Nice.
I attest 1,000% to that. I have a song called "It's Not About Me," and the chorus says, "It's not about you. It's not about me, and gathering all we can see. It's not about yours. It's not about mine or possessions we must leave behind. To figure out life and understand all it can be, just know that it's not about you. It's not about me." You know what I mean? That's how important stuff like that is to your point about it's about giving, because that is what it's about, Nicholette. And
so many questions, so many
wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So listen, my dear friend, before we wrap things up, do me a favor. Tell my friends and my listeners where to get in touch with you, how to follow Otune Radio, if you have a list. And again, I will be putting it all up here on the YouTube version of this, and it will be on the description page of this podcast. But tell our friends right now how the best way is to follow Otune Radio and all that you stand for.
Sure. You can go to our Facebook, Otune Radio. You can go to my personal page, not my personal page, my DJ page, which is Nikki's Vibes. On Facebook, you can join us on Instagram, Otune_radio. You can also go to Nikki's_vibes on Instagram. Our website is www.otuneradio.com. Email address. Contact information is at info@otuneradio.com. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Did I forget anything? Oh, yes. YouTube, Otune Radio.
And YouTube as well, too.
And Vimeo. You can go on any social media, TikTok, Otune Radio. You can find us, and I can send all those.
You're on TikTok too? Good.
Absolutely.
It's not just me, because I just started like over the last month, and I'm still trying to navigate my way through it, but I'm starting to enjoy it, you know, like, because it's so creative. But again, you got to have the time for it.
And Telegram. We are on Otune Radio on Telegram. Okay. Right.
Like I said, I will be sharing. So my friends who were listening to that, and if you were trying to write that down because it was fast, don't worry about it. All of those links will be in the description page and will be posted here for this YouTube version. But so listen, Nicholette, I don't know how to thank you enough. You have been wonderful. It has been a treat, like I knew it would be, because anyone who has a moniker such as yours, just with one world, one life, and one music, I knew would be a great conversation about oneness. So I'm happy to call you a friend. I appreciate you coming on. And to my friends out there listening, I want to thank you again for listening to the podcast that I call That Oneness Guy. I so appreciate you tuning in, and continue to tune in as you do, so I can get a chance to share my message of oneness, and to also share the spiritual gifts of people like Nicholette, and that all my guests are so very kind to share. Again, just as a reminder, this has been episode 51, which is an interview with CEO Nicholette Williams. Until next time, my friends, my name is Danny Rongo, and yes, I am that oneness guy. Please look for my next show, and know that, as always, I send you peace, love, light, and continued oneness. Namaste.
Namaste.
The words that will comfort me, I am.
I thank you again for listening to That Oneness Guy podcast. Please take a moment to subscribe to this feed wherever you may be listening to or watching this podcast. And please look me up and follow me on social media. You can find That Oneness Guy on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Just search for That Oneness Guy. And finally, To stay in touch with all things Oneness, my books, and performances, please visit my websites, thatonenessguy.com and dannyrongo.com. In closing, remember this. Oneness is not a religion. You can call it a spirituality, but it is more than that. It is a truth and a knowing. The knowing that we emanate from one source. Just like branches on any one tree, we are individualized expressions of that source. This is the truth of our race, the human race.
I am one of many who have come to sing